See anything different? What, my brown eyes don't look blue to you? I'm not talking about that brown eye. Hey, hi dolls, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 4, Episode 4. But before I get started, I want to send a shout out to my tipper-doos this week. First off, Darren Fancy threw a tipper-doo at me with the message, thank you. Well, I'm not quite sure what you're thanking me for, Darren, but you are more than welcome, seriously. And my tipper-doo boyfriend Vito called me a tomato this week with his tipper-doo. Personally, I just think that's his PG way of saying he wants me to make sauce and pour it on his noodles. Dirty! That's why I love you, Vito. If you'd like to toss some love my way through a tipper-doo, well, the link is down below. Seriously. Now, Jorge, drink me! Oh, Jorge, ooh, what is this ruby deliciousness? Oh, it's cranberry and ginger ale season once again. Oh, I can't believe it. My favorite time of the year. There's a lot of vodka in that time of the year, I'm just going to say. All right, let's get to it. As is the Drag Race format's want, we started this episode off with a fond farewell to Coppertop. Or was it? For all her lip service, Peppa still hadn't bothered to learn Copper's name. Maybe it's because Peppa didn't see Copper sticking around too long. She wasn't wrong. Meanwhile, Cheddar lamented that she hadn't shared the bottom with Copper, as they were on the same team. That seemed to inspire Danny Beard to ask Johnbers if she felt lucky to not be included with Peppa in the bottom. All Johnbers said was that her look was fashion, which I took to mean that Peppa's wasn't. She got what her weaving little heart desired. Okay, maybe that's not exactly how Johnbers put it, but I got the gist. The next day, the queens congratulated Dakota and Baby on their recent win. Sminty was so surprised by Dakota's second badge that she said her name was no longer Da Coaster. So speaks the hot mess who still doesn't have a badge. Personally, I'm with Pixie. Dakota may be the silent assassin of the season. Watch her. She's the quiet ones. Thankfully, Rue's video message broke up the debate before things could turn ugly. It was a cat lover's message this week, but when Rue arrived, she had a mini challenge for the queens first. A cheeky twist on musical chairs called Line of Booty Duty. The queens had 15 minutes to get into derriere-enhanced drag, and I have to say, there was some innovative ends being created, what with Cheddar using a slightly modest breastplate, if you ask me, and LaPhil, who'd raided the craft service table and was just sticking pastries down her pants. Then, with the help of the Brit Cruise Inspector Longbottom, a.k.a. Andreeve Stankovan, the queens lined up around some booty-enhanced seats. It's hard to tell which ones are the seats and which ones are the queens. Y'all know the drill. The queens danced around the booty stools, which sounds disgusting, by the way, until the music stopped. And then, one by one, the queens left standing at the end of each round were eliminated. So there was only two left, Sminty and Pixie. And let's be honest, Sminty's bony arse didn't stand a chance next to Pixie's bountiful booty. And yes, Bountiful Booty was the name of my Fringe play. And then it was time for Rue to give the queens this week's Maxi challenge. They would be divided into 3 teams as guests on the brand new talk show Caddyman, hosted by Alan Carr himself. That's right, it was an improv skills challenge, and because Pixie won the mini challenge, she got to assign the teams. Well, for her team, Pixie chose Cheddar Gorgeous and Danny Beard. I would have picked them too. For group 2, Pixie teamed Dakota with LaPhil and Baby, which I thought was a good mix of personalities anyway. Of course, that left Peppa, Sminty, and Johnbers for group 3. Without too much muss or fuss, the queens got down to work. Pixie confessed to her team that she wanted to create one good team, hers, one mediocre team, and a bad improv team. It was just lucky that Dakota, Baby, and LaPhil ended up being on the same team. Well, someone has an opinion. If you ask me, it was a premature opinion because the way Sminty was talking to her teammates, Johnbers and Peppa, You'd have thought she'd won a BAFTA for acting and not an AFTA for being a hot mess. Seriously. Personally, I think the hot mess was feeling a false sense of security because both her teammates were in the bottom last week. But for sewing, not for acting. Anyone else feeling the editor setting Sminty up for a fall? Just me? All the teams got a dossier outlining the characters and scenarios for each scene. Team 1 got Curiosity Killed the Katrina. An ex-child star seeks closure with Alan Carr and a guest psychic. For the most part, Team Katrina was feeling so confident about their scene and characters that Pixie called them Team Talent, which normally I would say is asking for a jinx, but who's she kidding? Team 2 got Cats Got My Tongue. This was an odd tale of two rival singers who inadvertently had their voices swapped. The fact that Dakota admitted she'd never done improv before did not bode well for me. Quiet, too. Not a good mix. Team 3 got The Catfish is Out of the Bag. A lovelorn queen goes to Cattyman to meet her online paramour who hasn't been honest about their looks. Sminty wanted to play the catfisher because she didn't want to be typecast as the pretty one. If I'd been Sminty, I would have been more worried about actually knowing what improv was. It's not being a chaotic mess, I'll tell you what. Sminty should just stick to what she knows, being a hot mess. And then it was time to head to the set to film Cattyman with the delightful Alan Carr. Curiosity Killed the Katrina went first. This was a masterclass in character work. These queens were so funny. They made Alan laugh out loud more than any of the other teams. When Pixie walked out, I almost peed my pants. Now that's a look. Plus, their setups were well thought out. Mystic Mog's catnip, Katrina's second wig, that sex toy that just seemed to appear in Pixie's hand as opposed to could have appeared, I'm just going to say. This team was a pleasure to watch, seriously. Well, unless you were the other teams who did get to watch Team 1 film, and none of those queens were feeling very good about themselves, let me tell you what. Team Cat's Got Her Tongue were next, and I'm so happy to say they started strong when Dakota spoke in that deep growly voice. It caught Alan so off guard that he lost it right away. Fortunately, so did Dakota, bless her. She kept laughing at the funny bits whether she was responsible for them or not, bless. But, to her credit, she was way more fun to watch than the other two. Baby looked good and started strong, but she just wasn't funny, and LaPhil didn't suck, but she wasn't funny enough to save their scenes either. It seemed like Pixie had assembled a losing team after all, and their coughing up furball seemed to sum up the mood for this scene. As for Team 3, Peppa and John Burst killed it. Well, how could they not next to Sminty? Poor thing. I hate to admit it, but I secretly love it when 23-year-olds who think they know everything prove themselves wrong. Who am I kidding? I openly love it when 23-year-olds who think they know everything prove themselves wrong. And Sminty did not disappoint, bless. Her makeup seemed to do all the acting for her, and it was still flat. Peppa and John Burst worked well together, but their scenes seemed to stall every time Sminty opened her yap. Sminty was so lost in that scene that everyone just left her there in the dark at the end to figure herself out. She never did. The next day, as the queens got ready for the runway, Danny was feeling confident that her team was the best and that she and Pixie were in the top. Because the catwalk category was the main event, there was a lot of hair talk in the workroom. Dakota told LaPhil about her judgment-free visits to her grandmother's when she and her twin were children, and how they used to play with the ornate tassels on her drapery, sounds dirty, pretending they were hair. I also loved hearing about LaPhil and her connection to drag and her hair, and how, as a Chinese boy, she only was allowed to play with cars and footballs and have short back and sides haircuts. So, the minute she moved out on her own, LaPhil let her hair grow, and so she should. It's gorgeous! Peppa talked about black hair in the world today and her struggle with being presentable. It was awful how the beauty industry tries to make the whole world look like the 6% of people who actually reach this ideal. Chris Rock has a fantastic documentary called Good Hair. Check it out. It's amazing. and touches all the points Peppa brought up. Chetta's hair issues were the opposite. She used to have a fabulous head of auburn hair that fell out after she contracted meningitis as a teen. And even though it didn't grow back the way it was, once she committed to the curve and shaved what was there, her acceptance of herself returned. So well done to Chetta. Here you go. We love you, doll. And then it was time for the main stage. And all I have to say is, what the hell was Rue wearing? Seriously. It looks like two different bad ideas. I'm just going to say, whoa. Thank God Michelle looked gorgeous. I think this is my favorite hairdo that she has ever had. Seriously. Alan looked passionate and pumpkin, and joining the judges this week was UK TV personality Alison Hammond. Category is the main event. Danny went first, and although Alan likened her red wig to McDonald's, that was the last thing I was thinking of, mostly because I didn't understand why her dog was invisible. Just me? Still, Fingerdoo for Danny. Was it an ugly dog? Okay, I know I'm going to lose some of you here, but I hated Cheddar's outfit. I liked it better when she took the coat off, and although Allison loved her coughing up a fur ball of the same color, I was sadly disappointed. Fingerdoo for Cheddar. Oh, don't hate me. Pixie's interpretation of Botticelli's The Birth of Venus was a showstopper for me. I thought it was very clever of Pixie to show all this glamour after playing that hag on Caddyman. Seriously, has she always been able to do her makeup like that? Fingerdoo for Pixie is what I'm trying to say. Blend! I really like Dakota's look, especially after hearing her story of her visits to her grandma's. Fingerdoo for Dakota, just saying. I could see where Baby was going with her look. I even got the Grace Jones reference from the movie Vamp, but still, I thought it looked a little lackluster compared to the other looks, so regretfully, wasn't a Fingerdoo for me. I still love you, baby! Oh. Phil's description of her catwalk being inspired by the clogged bathroom drains was hilarious, I'm just gonna say. And although she looked great with or without the wig, I'm still not sure why she bothered wearing one in the first place. It wasn't a deal breaker for me, so Fingerdoo for LaPhil. Seriously. Now, this is how you do a hairdress. Black Peppa's braided outfit was much more impressive than Baby's, no offense. I think because the braids were sewn together to make a solid fabric lent more gravitas to the silhouette, so I totally gave her a Fingerdoo. But Sminty Drop's Moth was a showstopper. This is the best she's looked all season, and after that horrific performance on Caddyman, she really needed to knock the judges' socks off. Fingerdoo for Sminty. Johnbury's look was okay. I love the reference to Princess Diana's stepmother, and even with the furkini reveal, I didn't hate it. Maybe because she flashed her sparkly crinkle tart at us, but I wasn't in love with it either. I'm gonna have to give Johnbury's a pinky do on this one, because sparkly crinkle tart was my drag queen name in high school. And then it was time for the judgment train to leave the station. Dakota from Team 2 and Peppa and Johnbury's from Team 3 were safe. They frigged off, and gladly. It was very clear why Team Curiosity killed the cat were all there. The judges loved them. Cheddar impressed the judges with her quick wit. And as funny as Pixie was in the challenge, she really wowed RuPaul on the catwalk with her makeup. But I feel that Pixie jinxed herself a little when she tried to burn Rue with that "I borrowed your team of 50 Rue" comment. But it was clear that Danny Beard was the star of that show for the judges. With such high words of praise for her sense of humor and timing, Danny got misty. Again! I thought she said she wasn't going to be that queen. Seriously. Baby kind of got raked across the coals, if I'm not mistaken. The judges admitted that she had moments in the challenge, but for the most part, she was really just one note. And as for her runway, Rue liked the idea of it, but thought it could have been done better. This she says while wearing that. Then Rue asked Baby what her objective was, and when Baby said she wants to grow and learn, Rue said Drag Race wasn't a school. They need their queens to come prepared. Hell, if they're not there to learn, why do the judges keep telling them they suck? LaFille's doctor was a bit of a hit and a miss for the judges, but her catwalk look was a home run for sure. Although, it was cold comfort when Ruth said she should have put the same amount of thought in her challenge character as she did for the catwalk. Sminty was, unsurprisingly, a letdown for the judges in the acting department, or should I say, lack thereof. But none of the judges had anything negative to say about her fuzzy moth. You heard me. Back in the Untucked Lounge, the Safe Queens were all breathing a sigh of relief. Well, everyone except for Johnburst, who's getting sick of being safe. God, I love her accent. I could listen to her say safe all day. When the rest of the queens arrived, Danny was still shedding tears of gratitude. It really touched me when she said she'd never thought she'd ever be considered a Rue girl. Speaking of Rue girls, Pixie was a little moist herself from hearing she and her makeup were beautiful as well. Clearly, it's not something she often sees in herself. Here's to Danny and Pixie, the beauties. Seriously! Did anyone else clock the SmackDown Cheddar gave Pixie with that double-handed compliment? Pixie, you were great, but Danny was hilarious. Let me tell you, children of the corn, if a compliment has the word but in it, it's not a compliment. Listen to your Auntie Wilma, just like my lovely Zachary does. Cooey, Zach, say hi to your mom Miranda for me. Mwah. Seriously. As for who was in the bottom, LaFille was feeling it was her. Sminty was convinced her runway saved her, while poor Baby was obviously feeling down after Rue's comments. It's too bad because I think Baby's a much better queen than she's letting herself be, and having a bad week after winning her first repeater badge didn't seem to be helping, seriously. Back on the main stage, Rue announced that this week's winner was Danny Beard. Congratulations, Danny, but I have to say I'm so sorry that Pixie looked so pissed off about it. Seriously. As for who was in the bottom, as predicted, it was down to Baby, LaFille, and Sminty. But it was LaFille who squeaked by, and it was down to Baby and Sminty. Yes. I have to say, I was excited for this lip sync. This was going to be epic no matter what happened. Sminty, like she did for the challenge, talked a big show, and now she had to prove it. Baby, on the other hand, just had to prove to herself why she was there in the first place. And I don't think anything does that better than the fear of going home. The song was Respectable by Mel and Kim, and right away, Sminty got rid of her stole, and Baby ditched the hat. And things seemed to go neck and neck for the queens. Then, Baby got rid of her dress, and it was all over for Sminty. How could it not be? You couldn't take your eyes off of Baby. So, when the music died, I wasn't surprised that Baby shantaed, but I will say, I was a little surprised at how sorry I was to see Sminty drop Sachet so soon. Now who are we going to make fun of? Johnburst? Seriously. I will say this, Sminty had one of the funniest exits on Drag Race ever. I'm so serious. So here's to Sminty drop. God bless her. So, how about you? Were you shocked and appalled that Sminty sashayed, or was it her time? What about Baby? Could her self-doubt get in the way of her continuing on for that crown? What about Danny? Will her winning a second repeater badge create a false sense of security? And what about Pixie? It was a good week for her. Could the next one be better? And speaking of next week, can we have a moment or two to talk about that teaser for next week's episode? Oh my God. First off, it's the Rusical. And that bit with Hannah Waddington telling one of the queens that they and they alone were worth her being on Drag Race. Well, now I have to watch that episode. Who do you think she was talking about? If you know, don't say. But if you have no idea, let me know who you think it could be. My guess is Pixie. She can sing and dance and she's camp as tits. Regardless, please remember to give this video a thumbs up. I said give this video a thumbs up. For all the views I get, you'd think I'd have way more thumbs up me. I know I do. What? And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I've been trying to make it to 10,000 subscribers since this time last year. I'm so serious. Not that the 8,000 plus subscribers I have now aren't fabulous, but I suspect they're getting bored with each other, I'm just saying. There's been rumblings. And finally, if you'd like to help support this channel, there are links in my description box down below. Until next week, miss me! Seriously, Morgan. It was a good episode. I have to say, I was really impressed with Dakota. I thought she made some really great choices, but, because she hasn't done it before, she just giggled through it. And let's be honest, I mean, even Alan was giggling through them, but he wasn't being judged. Oh, I felt like Pixie was really hurt that she didn't win. Or that, I mean, it had to start with Cheddar's comment in the Tech Lounge. You were great, but... Bless her. Poor Sminty, I was annoyed by her, only because, she's 23 and talks too much. But it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy her. It's going to definitely be a different workroom without her there. I just hope that John Burst can ride.